Hello everybody, I know it's been quite a while. Career and personal projects have left me a little busy, but we're back with another update to Acorn's Tweaks. This is version 0.5 or the 5th beta version. For those unfamiliar, Acorn's Tweaks is focused on making a bunch of small little quality of life tune-ups to the game to make it overall a little better, a little more fun, a little more enjoyable, while also keeping the same sort of vanilla feel so nothing feels out of place. And this update is honestly probably my biggest one yet, though I won't be going over every feature in this video since there are a lot of small ones. If you want to see every feature, you can check out the Mod changelogs, where everything is listed in detail there. First of all, a lot of changes introduced in the last update have been reverted or adjusted based on you guys' feedback. Any mob changes related to special types of damage, that's been completely undone. Any changes related to eating times, such as with different types of food, and the special interactions that creepers had with fire, that's been undone as well. Now, unfortunately, I did have to undo this armor trim feature that I was really happy about in last update on Mojang's part because they changed how the code works. And yeah, it just messed things up and made them impossible. But another thing you might notice in this version is that the added enchantments such as Flap or Lift or Fire Affinity are no longer in the game. I actually put those in a separate data pack that I have not released yet, full of more additions and experimental features that are not focused on being vanilla friendly. It's got some cool features I've been working on that I'm really excited to show you guys, so stay tuned for that. And the last few adjustments from previous versions in general is that any of the Elytra nerfs that I had previously, those are completely undone. The velocity-based damage that mazes can do is now not just tied to Elytra, but it can work with any type of movement. Feather Falling is no longer exclusive to protection enchantments. Honestly, that was my bad. That was a bad call on my part. And another adjustment related to a feature added in the last update is the auto step-up that was happening before when you wore lightweight armor, now just being tied to sprint. So if you're sprinting, you auto hop up like this. And if you aren't sprinting, then you won't automatically hop up. The next set of changes I made are related to effects and potions. One of them is that you can now make tipped arrows with regular potions or splash potions. Unfortunately, due to data pack limits, this only works with one arrow at a time. However, the benefit is that you can use spectral arrows and previously tipped arrows to do the same. And on the subject of tipped arrows, Fletcher villagers will have more tipped arrow trades. So if I go ahead and unlock level 2 here, then as you can see, we have a strength 2 tipped arrow here. It's just 1 for 2 emeralds and an arrow. And at level 4, you'll have the same thing, but for 3 tipped arrows. And of course, at level 5, you have it for 5 arrows. The trades I replaced for this working were honestly kind of the worst trades, so I feel like this makes the Fletcher Villager a lot more desirable. And you also don't need to trade all the way to level 5 just to get tipped arrows, only to find that they are the tipped arrows you don't want. Now you have 3 different ones you can get throughout the whole trading process. The next change I'm actually really happy about. This is related to the Potion of Invisibility. It also works on tipped arrows, not the effect command. That's just a little issue with Minecraft, but it works with the potions. Is that when you drink invisibility potions, you'll find that the particles are a lot harder to see. You may not be able to see them at all. There's one right there, but these are the ambient particles that happen when you have an effect from beacons. I figure this makes a lot of sense for invisibility since it's supposed to be invisible, and especially in PvP it kind of gives it away when you can see these obnoxious particles everywhere. With any other effect it'll work like normal, so you're completely visible. So it's not really making invisibility any more powerful, it's just making it more invisible, like how it's supposed to be. And the last effect related change actually coincides with the next set of changes, which are enchantment related. I have the Illager's Bane enchantment on this sword, and I want you to notice what happens when I hit the pillager here. See, he's got little potion effect particles, and he stopped chasing me or trying to shoot me. And that is because blindness now affects mobs by reducing their follow range to 0. With pillagers in particular, their AI is a bit weird and they'll still look at you, but most mobs that are inflicted with blindness will just completely ignore you and not see you at all. As a more practical example here, this creeper's about to explode and kill me, but if I give it blindness, it doesn't even really acknowledge where I am. Again, sometimes they still look at you, but he's completely passive basically. Unless you get really close, then they'll still see you. And I mean, that's kind of how it works with the player, so it makes sense. Next set of changes aren't directly tied to the enchantments themselves, but instead how they're applicable. This wolf armor has Frostwalker, and as you can see, it works on wolves. If he just comes over here, they can create a nice platform for you, which makes you a good boy, an even better boy. And this isn't just Frostwalker, it's also all protection enchantments as well as thorns, which will work on wolf armor, in addition to horse armor as well. And since wolf armor has durability, it also allows you to use unbreaking on them. I tried adding durability to horse armor, it didn't work at all, so yeah. The next change to enchantments is a parity change with Bedrock, where you can now light campfires, candles, and TNT using flame, which of course in my pack integrates fire aspect into it. And the next enchantment change I made, I can understand if people aren't super on board with this, so I want you guys' opinion. If I go type in Depth Strider here, you can see there's only one enchantment book because it's now a single level enchantment, where that's equivalent to its previous level 3. Sharpness and power now only have 3 levels instead of 5, which honestly makes sense because previously the first level would add +1 attack damage, and then each level after that would add plus 0.5. Now all 3 just add +1, and like I said, same thing applies to power. Alright, I set it to night here because the next set of changes have to do with mobs, most of which are hostile mobs. As most of you probably know, skeletons have a rare chance of spawning on top of a spider, but now if there's a spider nearby, they will automatically try to mount one. And same applies to skeleton horses, since those can spawn in the game. But an unfinished mob in the game that couldn't spawn before is the zombie horse, which has a chance to spawn alongside a zombie in the overworld on the surface. Let's see if we can get one here. Oh, there we go, we got one. And similarly to skeletons, if a zombie is near a zombie horse, it'll automatically try to mount it. And speaking of mobs that were never actually implemented properly into the game, we're at a mansion here. You might notice a rather unfamiliar face, and that is the Illusioner. You'll find Illusioners spawning alongside evokers within mansions and raids, and they also have a chance to appear in a patrol with pillagers. And their drops are going to be the same as the evoker, which now only has a 50% chance to drop a totem, which does sound like a huge nerf, but keep in mind, since they're always going to be spawning together, you're going to have twice as many mobs, so your chance to get a totem is the same as before, basically. There's one more unfinished mob in the game, and that's the Giant. If I go ahead and summon one here, you might notice he looks around and moves around. Giants have now been given the AI of zombies. They're really just a scaled-up zombie. And when you punch them, and when they move around, they'll make some low-pitched ambient noises. And they have a pretty long follow range, as well as some stat boosts like to armor and knockback resistance, so they're definitely going to be a little more challenging to kill. Though don't worry, they still don't naturally spawn in the game. I didn't really know of a good way to implement them properly, so they're still just exclusive to the summon command. But if you guys have any ideas how they should be summoned, maybe through like a ritual, like a Terraria boss or something. Also, what they should drop, because they just drop regular zombie loot right now. Let me know in the comments below. Now, even though these guys are zombies, if you put them in water, they won't turn into giant drown. Their attack damage is 25, which means they're able to one-shot you in survival mode without any armor. It used to be 50 back when they had no AI, and that was kind of insane because they can almost one-shot you in netherite armor, so I decided to dial it down a bit. And these versions of giants, since they are zombies, will burn in daylight as well. Next feature is a bit experimental. I want you guys to let me know what you think, and that is that creepers can now come in baby format. And the unique trait about them is that they don't do any damage, but they knock you back really far, making them sort of like a firecracker. Although this is high risk for fall damage, personally I think this gives the game a little more opportunity for you to like use a mace or whatever, and you can knock mobs around. Honestly, I think they're really fun, and they add a little bit of interesting personality to the game. Spectral arrows will now emit light where they land. This works in air and water, though keep in mind because they place a light block where they are, it won't work if they're occupying a block that's not just completely empty air or water. But otherwise, they're a pretty good temporary torch if you want to place them around and pick them back up as you go. And you could probably tell what the next change is by the fact that the happy gas spawn egg is in my hand, and that is that I doubled their movement speed. Now you won't notice it right here because I'm not riding it, and if you doubled their movement speed, they'd be going all over the place. But if I go ahead and ride it, you'll see that it moves a lot faster than it used to. Now this isn't tremendously fast, but it is double of before. And this is actually a good opportunity for me to mention. I actually added some settings that you can get to from the pause menu, Acorn's Tweak Settings. There aren't too many now, but you guys have mentioned that you want some of the features in this pack to be toggleable, so I added some toggleability here. If I go to General Settings here, you can see that the added mobs, including the modified giant, can all be toggled here, so you can disable them if you don't want them. I also added a toggle for getting experience from harvesting crops. And this says auto jump sprint, but I'm just using translated values, so it works in every language. This is referring to the auto hop up when you sprint that I showed earlier. And in combat settings, all I have is your main hand attack damage, which is where you can deal 2 damage at 2 attack speed or just normal. And of course the mace movement speed attack damage, which you can enable or disable. And all you have to do to save any settings is just click save and yes, and then they will be adapted to in the game. If you don't want to save anything, you just click back and you'll be good to go. And onto a couple of vehicle related changes. This one I'm a really big fan of. If you're in any kind of vehicle and you throw an ender pearl, it'll teleport the vehicle instead of just the player. And yes, villager trading hall people, this one's for you. As something to keep in mind, if you throw the ender pearl and exit the vehicle, only the vehicle will be teleported. And if you throw a pearl before you get into a vehicle, then it will just be like normal, just you teleport. But this works with boats, minecarts, and any mobs you are riding. Now a change that doesn't work on minecarts and boats, unfortunately, has to do with what I'm wearing on my back, the elytra. Everyone knows it's the most powerful mode of transportation in the game, and while some people try to make other modes of transportation equal or better in some way, I decided to take a different approach and try to make them join together so that you can get the benefits of both. Now you may be wondering why this camel is on a tree and why I'm about to ride the camel with my elytra equipped. Well, if you hold the jump button while in air, you can actually use your elytra to glide any mob you're riding, which makes things like the camel and the horse really viable all of a sudden. Especially when you combine that with the ender pearl change as well. Do know, however, that in survival mode, your elytra's durability will go down twice as fast when you're doing this, as, you know, you're carrying a lot more than just the player. And of course, needless to say, this doesn't work on the Happy Cast, and also fireworks won't work with this since you're not actually flying the elytra yourself. The next set of changes have to do with Archaeology, which I think was an underperforming system in the game since its very start. And by no means does this update to my data pack fix Archaeology, but I think it's a start to something better. If you guys have more ideas on Archaeology specifically, let me know. First couple of changes are related to the Sniffer, which can now dig up turtle scoots when in beaches and spore blossoms when in lush caves, making them renewable. But more importantly, the plants that it already digs up, which are the torch flower and the pitcher plant, now have functions. They're not completely useless and just for display only. I teased this one before, but a torch flower, if you walk through it, will give temporary light, with a little jingle there, which I thought was a nice touch, especially for like a house or whatever. You just walk by them and they'll make light, and after a few seconds, they'll just fade out, as you can see. Though the vastly more interesting block will be the pitcher plant. If I place this down here, and I put a zombie up here, then if I break this block, the zombie will actually be swallowed up by the pitcher plant and slowly consumed from the inside. And this works with any hostile mob that is player size or smaller. And when the zombie is finally fully consumed, it'll drop experience and loot as if it was killed by a player, making this a zero input harvester if you have a bunch of these. And they can only have one mob at a time. Next, we have a simple little change to food, and that is that mushroom stews can be made with any combination of red or brown mushrooms. And you can also add more mushrooms to the mix to get a bigger stew. Right now, these don't have translation-friendly names. I just did like giant mushroom stew here, large. The only translation-friendly name would be to like do a mushroom stew level 2 or level 3 or level 4. This is what it is for now. I might change it back to that anyways, just so it works in every language. But each level of mushroom stew, each 2 mushrooms you add, will add 50% more hunger and saturation restored. So as you can see, when I eat a giant mushroom stew, it almost restores the entire hunger bar. This next change I also teased to people early. Now you'll notice if I look up painting in creative, you have all the different variants available in creative mode, but in survival you just have the random variant version. Let's say in survival you want to place a painting, I like this one. Then you can actually break it and it will store its variant, so you can place that specific one wherever you want. Does this mean you have to keep crafting them to get the exact one you want? Well, the answer is no. Because if you use a brush, then by right-clicking the center of the painting, you can actually change its variant to different ones of the same size. And of course, in survival, when you break any one of these, you'll get that specific variant instead. But it doesn't stop there, as another block interaction you could do is place leads directly onto fences to make a leash knot like so, without the use of a mob. And if you want your leash back, all you have to do is just break it like that and it'll give it to you. And for some reason these don't stack when they come into the inventory, but as you can see they stack now. And I'll admit this one's a little buggy. If it stops working, just do /reload and it'll fix itself. And it shouldn't interact with leashes that you put on the same fence with mobs, but things can be weird. I think there's a way to duplicate leashes. I don't know, this one is inherently really buggy, but I mean, this is a pretty small minor feature, so if you like it, there you go. The next change is related to beacons, and with copper being an actual metal now finally, with the Copper Age update coming up, copper itself can be used to power a beacon, as you can see. This works with the regular block of copper, so no other variant will work, and it works with the wax and unwaxed variants, as well as with exposed copper, though weathered copper and oxidized will cease the beacon from functioning, as you can see. And I did that so that exposed copper can give you sort of a warning that, hey, this might cease function soon if you don't take care of it. And of course, with that, copper ingots can be used as a payment item now. Nearing the end, I've got a crafting recipe change, and that is that anvils can be repaired a damaged stage by surrounding them with iron in a crafting table. And of course, I can do this again to get a fully repaired anvil, which is slightly more efficient than just letting an anvil break and making a new one. Nearing the end, prismarine bricks can be made with prismarine blocks just like every other brick in the game, and same logic applies as every other block with the stonecutter. And the last couple of features actually have to do with the stonecutter, one of which was inspired by Ethos Lab, where in one of his Let's Play videos he mentioned consolidation of items, especially ones with different variants for building. For example, if you look up the word stone, there are a lot of different variants of stone. And he argued that it would be nice to be able to consolidate them under a single type of block. And now that is possible, as every stone variant block can be turned into cobblestone. You could think of it as the stonecutter sort of cobbling the stone. And of course, cobblestone can be turned back into stone through smelting, and therefore you can get all your blocks back. And of course, the same logic applies if you have stairs, walls, or slabs. And with deep slate, all the different variants will turn into cobbled deep slate. With tuff, since there isn't a coupled version, they'll be turned into the tuff block, and same thing as tuff with blackstone. And the last feature, also tied to the stonecutter, is that sandstone can be turned directly back into sand. And this works with any variant of sandstone, which will turn into 4 sand for a full block, as well as a wall, since they're 1-to-1 in crafting. Stairs will turn into 3, and slabs, as you might guess, will turn into 2. This means that instead of terraforming an entire desert, you can literally just mine a desert village or a desert temple. This makes sand duplicating devices a lot less of a necessity to get a lot of sand. You can now just mine sandstone and carry it in a really compact way. Anyways, that does it for this update. If you did enjoy the video, do let me know in the comments below. And of course, with any ideas you have, as well as any ideas for settings you want to be toggled in the settings here. I think I'm going to add a slider for the speed of happy ghasts, so you can control exactly how fast they go if you want to make them faster or slower. But otherwise, that does it for this update. Go ahead and download the pack and let me know what you think. And anyways, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.